Someone suddenly tagged me in the building's community group chat unit. 702Y is a single woman like you hogging 2 premium parking spots. My husband has nowhere to park his car starting tomorrow. You're giving one of them to us, I'm not taking it for free. I'll pay you $20 a month for the management fee. You're basically getting free money for doing nothing. You should be happy about this. I looked at the messages on my screen and felt a surge of pure disbelief. I own 6 properties and 3 parking spots in the city. That specific unit is just a place I used to store extra junk. I paid $50,000 for that deed parking spot. Now someone thinks they can rent it for $20 a month. I typed a simple response in the group chat. Not happening. I didn't expect the property manager to show up at my door the very next day. He claimed someone complained about me monopolizing public resources. He told me I had to cooperate for the sake of neighborly harmony and hand over the spot fine if they won't listen to reason. They can't blame me for flipping the table. I watched the messages popping up in the group chat and almost laughed out loud from anger. The person messaging had a profile picture of a family portrait. Her nickname was Unit 603 Mrs. Miller. Since I hadn't replied, she followed up with several more messages. Elena from 702. Did you hear me? My husband has to spend ages looking for a spot every day when he gets home. You're one person using 2 spots. Isn't that a waste of space? It's sitting empty anyway. What's the big deal about letting my family use one? $20 is plenty. You're a single woman with no social life. Didn't matter where you park, just do your neighbor a favor. The condescending tone in her messages made my skin crawl. I own 6 houses. In this particular complex, I bought 3 units and 3 deeded parking spaces. Unit 702 is just my least impressive property. I only use it to store old furniture and boxes. $20. That wouldn't even cover the monthly maintenance fee for the spot. I didn't want to waste my breath, so I just typed a quick reply. Sorry. My spot isn't for rent. I use it myself. $20 doesn't even cover the base fees. I thought a clear refusal would be the end of it. Instead, she sent a long voice note, her voice dripping with impatience. Oh, come on, we're neighbors. What's wrong with a little help? You only have 1 car. It's not like you can drive 2 at once. Who do you think you are? Some VIP. A young woman like you should be focused on finding a husband instead of hoarding resources. What are you going to do when you're old and alone? My husband is a senior executive at Apex Peak Group. He knows a lot of people. If you do us this favor, maybe he can set you up on a date. After listening to those clips, my blood started to boil. I couldn't believe people still had this kind of entitled, backward mindset. Just as I was about to go off on her, a user named Manager Hudson jumped into the chat. Mrs. Miller has a point, Miss Thorne. Parking is very tight in our complex. 1 person occupying 2 spots is a bit of a waste. Let's try to be understanding if you aren't using it. Letting a neighbor have it would really help the community spirit. I looked at the manager's biased comment and my expression went cold. This is a high-end luxury condo in the city. I pay thousands in HOA fees every year. And now the manager is helping someone else steal my property. I ignored the rest of the messages and tossed my phone onto the sofa. Let them say whatever they want there. There's no way I'm letting a $50,000 spot go for $20. The next afternoon, I was organizing some boxes inside when my doorbell started ringing like crazy. I opened the door to find 3 men standing there. Leading them was Manager Hudson, the one who had taken sides in the chat. 2 security guards stood behind him. You're the owner of 702. Elena Thorne, right? His tone was incredibly patronizing, as if he were interrogating me. What do you want? I asked. Hudson waved a document in front of my face. We've received complaints that you are occupying 2 public parking spots. After a review, we've determined you only have the right to 1. The other is an unauthorized occupancy. I'm here to notify you that spot B17 has been reassigned by management. Clear out your things immediately starting tomorrow. That spot belongs to Mr. Miller from 603. I could barely believe what I was hearing. Excuse me, I bought that spot. I have the deed and the title. What right does the management have to reassign it? Hudson looked annoyed. Miss Thorne, you only own 1 residential unit here according to the rules. Each unit gets 1 spot. Taking 2 is a violation. As for your claim about a deed, we need to verify that. Until you provide proof, the spot is under management control. I stared at his smug face, fury rising in my chest. So you're telling me that you're seizing property I paid $50,000 for? Hudson flinched slightly under my gaze, but doubled down. It's not a seizure. It's a reallocation. Don't make this difficult. This was decided by the HOA board. The board, since when Mrs. Miller is the vice president of the HOA and Mr. Miller is a prominent member, they filed a joint petition. And I'm just enforcing it. It all made sense now. This wasn't about a complaint. This was Mrs. Miller using her position to bully me and steal my property. She tried to act like she was negotiating in the chat. And when I said no, she went for the throat. She couldn't rent it for $20, so she decided to just take it for free. Hudson saw my silence and thought I was intimidated. His tone grew even more arrogant. Miss Thorne, I'm trying to be nice here. Don't be ungrateful. The board has passed the resolution. You're going to comply, whether you like it or not. If you keep being difficult, management has the right to take force measures against you. The 2 guards took a step forward, looking ready to get physical. I looked at these 3 grown men threatening me at my own front door and decided to keep my cool for the moment. Fine, Hudson, LL remember this. I slammed the door right in their faces. My phone started buzzing with notifications. The group chat was exploding. Mrs. Miller was practically throwing a victory parade in their good news, everyone. Management has accepted the HOA board suggestion. B17 officially belongs to our family, starting tomorrow. That girl in 702 tried to hoard it, but thankfully Manager Hudson knows what's fair. Some people just don't know how to be part of a community immediately. A bunch of people started sucking up to her. Mrs. Miller is so influential. That's how you handle people like her exactly.
Who does she think she is?
Her husband is a big shot at Apex Peak. Using her spot is basically doing her an honor. The management did the right thing. You have to be tough with selfish people who don't care about the collective. Good. I stared at the screen, my fingers trembling with rage. I typed out a message. I paid $52,000 for that deed spot. By what right does the HOA think they can revoke my ownership, Mrs. Miller replied instantly with a voice. No, her voice full of mockery. Oh, here we go again. Deeds. Idols, why don't you show us this mythical paperwork then? Besides, how does a single woman like you afford 50 grand for a parking spot? We all know how you really got this apartment and that spot. I'm trying to be polite by not saying it out loud. So don't push your luck, honey. As soon as she said that, others started chiming in with nasty comments. Now that you mention it, she's always alone, no family ever visits. It is a bit suspicious how she affords such a nice place. Some women have no shame about how they make their money these days. No wonder she lives alone in such a big unit. She's probably some rich guy's side piece. Mrs. Miller is being way too kind to her. My knuckles turned white as I gripped my phone. Brenda Miller, I've screenshotted everything you just said. Defamation and character assassination are serious legal matters. You have any idea what you're doing? Also, you can verify my deed at the county clerk's office whenever you want. You and the manager are conspiring to steal private property. That's a felony. I've saved every chat log. Think very carefully about the consequences. Mrs. Miller's next reply was even more delusional. Oh, I'm so scared of felony. Who do you think you are? You think you're going to get an apology? Go ahead and sue. That spot is mine now. If you're not happy, take it to court. My husband works at Apex Peak. Can call their legal team whenever he wants. Let's see who goes broke first. Manager Hudson jumped back into owner of 702. Watch your language. Management is following a board resolution. Everything is by the book. If you continue to harass residents, we will ban you from the group chat. The rage in my chest was almost blinding. I turned off my phone and leaned back on the sofa, closing my eyes. I paid over $50,000 for a spot, and they stole it. I mentioned my deed, and they called it fake. I defended myself, and they called me a kept woman. The manager and the HOA were in bed together committing daylight robbery. Fine, great. I stood up and put my deed and the purchase contract into my bag. First thing tomorrow, I'm going to my lawyer's office to file a lawsuit. The next morning, I headed downstairs to drive to the law firm, but when the elevator doors opened at the garage, my heart sank. All 4 of my tires were slashed. Deep, jagged scratches ran down both sides of my car. On the hood, someone had used red spray paint to write, "Parking hog, go to hell." I stood by the car, my entire body shaking. This car cost me nearly $300,000. More importantly, this was my deeded spot. I wasn't hogging anything. I pulled out my phone and called the management office. It rang 8 times before someone finally picked up. Sounding board. I'm the owner of 702. My car has been vandalized in the garage, and someone down here right now. The voice on the other end drawled. Oh, okay, we'll send someone to take a look in about 3 hours. 3 hours? I snapped. My car was destroyed in your secure
Garage.
Is this how you handle emergencies? Look, we're busy. Just wait your turn. We'll get there when we can. They hung up on me. I stared at the screen, a ball of fire burning in my chest. I waited nearly 4 hours before a middle-aged man in a management uniform finally strolled over. Wow, that's some pretty bad scratching. What is management going to do about this? I asked. He held up his hands. Nothing we can do. You'll have to handle it yourself. Nothing you can do. My voice rose. I pay thousands in fees for security. My car was totaled in your garage, and you're telling me it's not your problem? He glanced at me with pure annoyance. Look, lady, we aren't the police. We don't handle this stuff. You clearly pissed someone off. Deal with it. Before I could lash out, a shrill laugh echoed through the garage. Well, if it isn't our neighbor from 702, what happened to your car? It looks terrible. I turned around. It was Brenda Miller. She pointed at the spray paint and laughed until she was breathless. Parking hog, go to hell. Whoever did that is a genius. Ha ha ha. Brenda did. You do this. Don't go accusing me. I'm just a fragile woman. I don't have the strength to trash a car. But she dragged out the word, looking me up and down. At the end of the day, it's your fault. Why else would someone target you and not anyone else? I ignored her and turned back to the staff member. I want to see the security footage. The man's expression stiffened. The cameras in Section B have been down for a few days. We haven't had a chance to fix them yet. I looked him dead in the eye. Down. How convenient. His eyes instinctively darted toward Brenda. Brenda gave a small subtle cough. He immediately looked away and spoke with more confidence. Their broken technology fails sometimes. There's nothing we can do. A cold chill ran through me. It was obvious. Management and Brenda were working together. They turned off the cameras so she could do whatever she wanted. Brenda laughed even harder. The cameras are broken. Oh, what a shame. I guess there's no evidence at all. What a pity. She stepped closer, her eyes full of malice. I heard rumors about you, a young girl living in a place this big, driving a car this nice. We all know where that money comes from. Maybe someone's wife found out about you and decided to pay you a visit. It makes sense, doesn't it, if you ask me? You deserve it. That's the risk you take when you're a professional side piece. Stared at her twisted face, pulled out my second phone, and started recording. I've recorded every single word. You just said defamation and slander are illegal. Do you understand what you're doing? I turned to the management guy, and I pay massive fees for security. My car is trashed. And you say you don't care, and the cameras are conveniently broken. I recorded that too. See you in court. Brenda's face twisted. She lunged forward and slapped the phone out of my hand. Who the hell do you think you are? You think you can threaten me? She reached out to grab my hair. I tried to back away, but the management guy suddenly grabbed my shoulders from behind, pinning me in place. Brenda seized the chance and landed a hard, stinging slap across my face. You're just a piece of trash living off some man. You think you can fight me? Let me tell you something. I run this place. My husband is a top exec Apex Peak. He has connections everywhere with the cops and the streets. I could ruin you with one phone call. My cheek burned like fire. I could taste blood in my mouth. I got out a bit of blood, reached into my pocket for my other phone and dialed 911. When I'm at Emerald Heights Garage Section B. My car has been destroyed, and I am currently being assaulted and threatened. Brenda didn't even look scared when she saw me calling the police. She just laughed. The police? You think I'm afraid? My husband has friends at the precinct. You can call the FBI for all I care. It won't help you, the management guy added snidely. Miss Thorne, I'd suggest you don't make a scene. You really can't afford to mess with Mrs. Miller's family. You're just a woman on her own. Is it worth it? Just apologize to her and let it go. If you keep pushing, you're the one who's going to suffer. Brenda crossed her arms and tilted her chin up, looking at me like I was an ant. Did you hear that? You scared? Now too late. I'll give you one last chance. Get on your knees and apologize up the parking spot, and I might consider letting you off the hook otherwise. She narrowed her eyes, a cruel smile on her lips. My husband will make one call, and you'll never find a job or a place to live in this city again. Wanna bet? Apex Peak Group, right? My eyes were ice cold. I pulled up a contact in my phone and hit dial. It was picked up on the first ring. Tell the people at Apex Peak to get their asses down to the Emerald Heights garage in 20 minutes. Tell their CEO that if they're late, they can forget about even bidding on the Southside Development Project. The garage fell silent for exactly 3 seconds after I hung up the phone. Then, Brenda let out a piercing, theatrical cackle that echoed off the concrete walls. The Southside Development Project? Oh my God, you're actually clinically insane. She clutched her stomach, leaning against the hood of a nearby Toyota. Did you hear that, Stan? She's pretending to be some billionaire. What's next? You own the whole city? Are you going to buy the moon? Stan, the management guy, snickered, though his eyes darted nervously toward the garage entrance. Look, lady, I don't know who you just fake called, but you're making a fool of yourself. Just walk away. You've already lost the spot. Your car is ruined, and if you keep this up, Mrs. Miller is going to ruin your life. I didn't answer. I just stood there, the metallic taste of blood still sharp on my tongue, my thumb pressed against the screen of my primary phone to lock it. I bent down, picking up the secondary phone Stan had slapped from my hand. The screen was cracked, a jagged spiderweb of glass obscuring the display, but the little red recording light was still blinking in the corner. I don't need to own the moon, I said, my voice eerily calm, cutting through Brenda's laughter. I just need to own you. And I do. Brenda's sneer faltered for a fraction of a second, unsettled by my absolute lack of panic, but her arrogance quickly masked it. She stepped forward, raising her hand as if to slap me again. You little. Before her hand could descend, the sharp, authoritative wail of a police siren breached the underground garage. The flashing red and blue lights painted the concrete pillars in frantic bursts. A black and white cruiser pulled up, abruptly, tires screeching against the painted floor. 2 officers stepped out, hands resting instinctively on their belts. We got a 911 call about an assault and property damage, the taller officer, a broad-shouldered man with a stern jawline, announced. Who called? I did, I said, stepping forward. But Brenda was faster. In a display of sociopathic agility that, honestly, belonged on a theater stage, her entire demeanor shifted. The cruel, mocking tyrant vanished, replaced instantly by a trembling, fragile victim. She rushed toward the officers, tears welling in her eyes. Officers, thank God you're here, Brenda cried, her voice quivering perfectly. This woman, she's completely unhinged. She's been hoarding parking spots, and when the HOA rightfully reassigned one to my family, she lost her mind. She dragged a key down her own car, sprayed paint on it just to frame me, and then she attacked me. Stan immediately nodded vigorously, stepping up beside her. It's true, officers. I'm the building manager on duty. I came down because of a noise complaint and caught her destroying her own vehicle. When Mrs. Miller tried to calm her down, this crazy lady lunged at her. I had to step in to protect Mrs. Miller. The taller officer, reading his name tag as Officer Reyes, frowned. He looked at my ruined car, the slashed tires, the deep, gouged scratches, the red spray paint, screaming, "Parking hog, go to hell," and then looked back at me. Ma'am, you're bleeding from the mouth. She bit her own lip, trying to scratch my face. Brenda shrieked. Look at her. She's a mistress for some rich guy. She doesn't care about money. She just wants to destroy my family's reputation because we stood up to her. Officer Reyes sighed, pulling out a notepad. All right, everyone calm down. Miss, you're the owner of the vehicle? Yes. My name is Elena Thorne, I said, my tone flat, refusing to match Brenda's. Hysterics. That vehicle is a custom-ordered Mercedes-Maybach S-Class. The damages are easily north of $40,000. This woman, Brenda Miller, vandalized it. When I confronted her, she and this management employee assaulted
Me.
he restrained me, and she struck me across the face. Liar. Brenda screamed. Where's your proof? The cameras in Section B are broken. Ask Stan. Stan cleared his throat, looking incredibly self-important. Yes, officer. Unfortunately, we've had a network failure in this sector for the past 48 hours. No footage. The second officer, a younger woman named Davis, raised an eyebrow.
How?
Convenient. It's the truth, Stan insisted, crossing his arms. It's a he said, she said. But I am an official employee of Emerald Heights, and I am willing to testify under oath that Miss Thorne did this to herself. Brenda smiled, a tiny, venomous smirk that the officers couldn't see. You have nothing, her eyes said. I win. I pulled a pristine white handkerchief from my pocket, dabbed the blood from my chin, and turned to look at my Maybach. Officer Davis, I said softly, are you familiar with the security features of high-end, heavily modified luxury vehicles? Davis tilted her head. I know they have dashcams. They have more than dashcams, I said, my voice echoing clearly in the quiet.
Garage.
This specific model is equipped with a 360-degree biometrics entry
System.
It operates on an independent internal power grid, separate from the car's main battery. There are 8 hidden Ultra HD lenses integrated into the chassis, the mirrors, and the grille. They activate upon detecting proximity, motion, impact, or sudden pressure changes. They also record audio. Brenda's smirk froze. The color began to drain from her face, starting at her cheeks and leaving her looking like a chalk outline. Stan swallowed hard, taking a half step backward. You're making that up. I didn't look at them. I pulled a sleek, silver key fob from my bag, pressed a sequence of buttons, and the Maybach shattered. Painted exterior betrayed no weakness as the massive dashboard screen inside illuminated the dark cabin.
I
Unlocked the doors. Officers, I gestured toward the screen. Shall we review the tape? I believe the law refers to this as indisputable evidence. Officer Reyes walked to the driver's side, leaning in. He tapped the screen.
A.
Crystal clear, 4K resolution video began to play. It had captured everything, from 4 different angles. There was Brenda, clear as day, her face twisted in a vicious sneer as she dragged a screwdriver down the length of my driver's side.
Door.
There was Stan, laughing, shaking the can of red spray paint before handing it to her. And then the audio played. The crisp, undeniable sound of Brenda's voice. Let's see the little whore park here now. The cameras are off, right? Followed by Stan's obsequious reply. Disable them myself, Mrs. Miller. You've got all the time in the world. The footage continued, showing me arriving. It showed the argument. It showed Stan grabbing me from behind, pinning my arms, and Brenda winding up and slapping me with all her strength. The silence in the garage was deafening. Officer Reyes backed out of the car, his face dark with fury. He turned slowly toward Brenda and Stan. The young Officer Davis was already unbuttoning the strap over her handcuffs. Well, Reyes said, his voice a low, dangerous rumble. That's felony vandalism, conspiracy, assault, battery, and filing a false police report. No, Brenda shrieked, her voice cracking. No, wait, it's not what it looks like. She provoked me. She stole my parking spot. Turn around, ma'am, Davis ordered, stepping toward Brenda. Don't touch me. You can't arrest me. Brenda thrashed wildly, stepping back. Do you know who my husband is? Arthur Miller. He is the senior vice president of acquisitions at Apex Peak Group. You arrest me, and he will have your badges by tomorrow morning. He plays golf with the chief of police. Ma'am, put your hands behind her back, Reyes barked, losing his patience. Stan was already on his knees, his face buried in his hands, weeping openly. She made me do it. Mrs. Miller said if I didn't help her, she'd have the HOA. Fire me. I have kids. Before the officers could slap the cuffs on Brenda, a low, rumbling sound reverberated down the concrete ramp leading into the garage. It wasn't the sound of a police cruiser. It was the synchronized, heavy purr of multiple V8 engines. 3 identical, blacked-out Cadillac Escalades descended into Section B, moving with a predatory swiftness. They aggressively boxed in the police cruisers, ignoring the flashing lights. Brenda's eyes lit up with manic relief. Arthur. Oh, thank God, she cried, pointing a trembling, manicured finger at me. You are dead, you little bitch. Apex Peak is here. The doors of the lead Escalade flew open. 5 men in immaculately tailored dark suits stepped out. They moved with a frantic, terrified urgency. In the center was a man I recognized instantly. Richard Vance, the billionaire, CEO of Apex Peak Group. He was practically sprinting, his face flushed red, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool garage air. Being dragged by the arm behind him, looking confused and entirely out of breath, was a man in his mid-40s, Arthur Miller. Arthur, Brenda yelled, pushing past Officer Davis and running toward her husband. Arthur, honey, this psychotic woman and these idiot cops are trying to arrest me. Tell them who you are. Call Apex's legal team right now. Arthur Miller adjusted his glasses, looking at the police, looking at the ruined Maybach, and then looking at his wife. He puffed out his chest, puffing up with that same unbearable arrogance his wife possessed. What is the meaning of this? Arthur demanded, looking at the officers. I am Arthur Miller, an executive at Apex Peak. My wife is the victim here. Whatever this woman has told you is a lie. If you don't release her immediately, I will bury this precinct in litigation. Officer Reyes stared at him in disbelief. Sir, your wife is on camera, committing a felony. Fake, Arthur said dismissively. Deep fakes are everywhere. Now let her go. He turned to Richard Vance, his boss, trying to look authoritative. Mr. Vance, I apologize for this interruption. I don't know why you insisted we come down here, but I assure you, my legal team will handle this trash. Richard Vance didn't look at Arthur. He didn't look at Brenda. He didn't even look at the police. Vance's eyes were locked entirely on me, the powerful, ruthless CEO of a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, a man who regularly dined with senators and governors, took 3 shaky steps forward and stopped exactly 6 feet away from me. And then, to the absolute horror of everyone in the garage, Richard Vance bowed. A deep, 90-degree, waist-bending bow of total submission. Miss Thorne, Vance's voice trembled, echoing in the dead silence. I arrived as quickly as I could. I pray to God, I am not too late. Arthur Miller's mouth dropped open. The words died in his throat. Brenda froze. Mid-step, her hand outstretched toward her husband, her face twisting into a mask of pure, unadulterated confusion. And Mr. Vance? Arthur stammered, looking back and forth between his billionaire boss and the single woman with no social life, living in Unit 702. Sir, what are you doing? Why are you bowing to her? Vance snapped upright, turning on Arthur with a ferocity that made the executive physically flinch. Shut your mouth, you insignificant parasite. Vance roared, his voice cracking with panic. Do you have any idea who you are looking at? Do you have any idea what you've done? Vance turned back to me, pulling a handkerchief from his pocket and dabbing his sweating forehead. Miss Thorne, chairwoman of the Thorne Consortium, sole proprietor of the Southside Redevelopment Land Trust. Please tell me, this idiot has not cost us the contract. We have spent 2 years preparing that bid. Please. Brenda's legs gave out. She didn't fall gracefully. She collapsed into a heap on the oily concrete floor, staring at me with wide, bloodshot eyes. Chairwoman, Thorne Consortium? No. She lives in 702. She uses it for storage. I told you, I said softly, my voice carrying over the silence. I own 6 units in this building. I didn't buy 702 to live in. I bought it because I needed a place to store the furniture I ordered for my actual penthouse on the top floor. I stepped past Vance and walked right up to Arthur Miller. He was shaking. The arrogant Apex Peak executive had suddenly realized that he wasn't standing in front of a helpless woman. He was standing in front of the financial grim reaper. You're Arthur? I said. I. Arthur stuttered, the color completely drained from his face. Your wife, I said, pointing at the shivering woman on the ground, decided she liked my $50,000 parking spot when I wouldn't rent it to her for $20 a month. She used her position on the HOA to have her pet manager illegally seize my deeded property. Then she vandalized my $300,000 car. Then she had her friend hold me down so she could slap me in the face. I leaned in closer, my voice dropping to a whisper that only he and Vance could hear. And while she was hitting me, Arthur, she told me that you ran this city. She told me you would use Apex Peak's power to make sure I never found a job or a place to live again. Arthur let out a sound that was half sob, half gasp. He looked at his wife with a hatred so profound it practically radiated off his skin. Mr. Vance, I said, straightening my posture. The Southside Development project is a $2 billion contract. I called you here to tell you face that Apex Peak is officially disqualified from the bidding process. Vance let out a choked cry. Miss Thorne, please. This man is a mid-level manager. I didn't even know who his wife was until you called. You can't punish 50,000 employees for the actions of one arrogant executive's psychotic spouse. I don't do business with companies that harbor liabilities, I said coldly. He's not a liability, he's a ghost. Vance shouted, turning to his security team. Arthur Miller, you are terminated. Effective this exact second. Your stock options are voided under the moral turpitude clause. Apex Peak is suing you for breach of contract, reputational damage, and anything else my lawyers can invent. You are ruined. You will not be able to get a job cleaning toilets in this state when I am done with you. Arthur fell to his knees. Mr. Vance, please. Elena, Miss Thorne, I didn't know. I swear to God I didn't know what she was doing. But you were happy to use your company's name to intimidate the police too. Minutes ago, I pointed out. I turned to Officer Reyes. Officers, I believe you. We're in the middle of making an arrest? Officer Reyes, who looked like he had just witnessed a bomb go off, nodded. Slowly. He stepped over to Brenda, grabbing her roughly by the arm and hauling her to her feet. Brenda Miller, you are under arrest. Reyes read her rights as he clicked the steel cuffs tightly around her wrists. Brenda wasn't fighting anymore. She was sobbing uncontrollably, her makeup running in thick black rivers down her
Cheeks.
Arthur, help me. Do something, she wailed, being dragged toward the cruiser. Arthur didn't even look at her. He was too busy staring at the concrete, realizing that his life, his wealth, and his future had just been vaporized. Because his wife wanted a free parking spot. Stan was next. Officer Davis cuffed the weeping management employee, who was muttering, I have kids, over and over again. Officer, I said, stopping Davis before she put Stan in the car. There is one more person involved in this conspiracy. Manager Hudson. He was the one who presented me with the fraudulent reassignment document and threatened to use force to remove my property. He is upstairs in the management office. Officer Reyes nodded. We'll send a unit up right now. Miss Thorne, we will need you to come to the station to give a formal statement and provide the raw footage from your vehicle. My lawyers will be there in 20 minutes with the files and a civil litigation team, I replied. I looked back at Richard Vance, who was still standing there, looking like a man, awaiting the guillotine. Mr. Vance, I said, I will reconsider your bid for the South Side project. Under one condition. Vance's eyes widened with desperate hope. Anything. Name it, Miss Thorne. I want Apex Peak's legal department to assist my attorneys in dismantling Arthur and Brenda Miller. I want them buried so deep in legal debt that their grandchildren will be paying it off. And I want Emerald Heights property management investigated by the management company if you have to audit their books and find every single penny Brenda Miller and the HOA have stolen from the residents. Done, Vance said without a microsecond of hesitation. Consider it done.
I
will buy the property management firm by 5 p.m. today and liquidate their board. Good. I picked up my ruined bag, stepped carefully around the shattered glass of my secondary phone, and walked toward the elevator. 3 days later, I sat on the velvet sofa of my top floor penthouse, unit 4001, sipping a cup of Darjeeling tea. The floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city skyline, the very skyline my company was reshaping. My phone buzzed on the glass coffee table. It was my assistant, Clara. Miss Thorne, the proceedings have been finalized. Apex Peak acquired the Emerald Heights management firm yesterday. During the audit, they uncovered that Brenda Miller, as HOA vice president, had been embezzling community funds to pay for her luxury vacations and designer bags. Over $300,000. Over the last 4 years, Manager Hudson was complicit and took a 20% cut. Where are they now? I asked, taking a slow sip of my tea. Hudson and Stan were denied bail due to flight risks and the severity of the corporate embezzlement charges. Brenda Miller is in county lockup. Her husband, Arthur, filed for divorce the morning after the incident. He was evicted from Unit 603 this morning since the property was leveraged against loans he can no longer afford to pay, thanks to Apex Peak freezing his assets and suing him for damages. And the car? A replacement Maybach, identical to your previous specifications, is being delivered to your private garage downstairs tomorrow. The damages for the vandalized vehicle are being extracted directly from the Miller's remaining liquidated assets. Excellent work, Clara. I hung up the phone and opened the Emerald Heights community group chat. For the past 3 days, it had been a ghost town. The sudden arrests, the police cars, and the eviction of the Millers had sent shockwaves through the building. The sycophants who had been cheering Brenda on just days before were now terrified, realizing that the single woman with no social life had just eradicated the most powerful family in the building in a single afternoon. I watched the screen for a moment, then tapped the text box. Elena, Unit 702 and Penthouse 4001. Good afternoon, neighbors. I have been informed that parking spot B17 is officially vacant once again.
Furthermore, as
the new majority shareholder of the management company, I will be dissolving the current HOA board immediately due to the recent arrests for felony embezzlement. A new election will be held next month. Until then, anyone else who has an issue with my parking spots is welcome to knock on my door.
Have a wonderful day.
I hit send. Within seconds, the read receipts began to tick up. 10,
20.
50. No one replied. No voice notes.
No arrugandaments.
Just absolute, terrified silence. I smiled, locked my phone, and went back to my tea. The view from the top, really, was spectacular.